Hare Krishna. Excuse me for being late. I'm headed out today to go up and stay with Donna Kaylee. He's one of the Sanga members. And, packing and getting ready, I lost track of time. So let me just get the verse today, and we'll start. Okay. Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Volume 1, Chapter 6, Text 63. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Parīkṣit uvāca. Idam ākarṇya bhagavān. Utthāya śayanād drutam. Priya-prema-parādhīno rudann uccair bahir gataḥ. Śrī Parīkṣit said, hearing this, the Personality of Godhead, who is ruled by the love of those dear to him, suddenly got up from his bed and came outside, loudly weeping. Om timarandasya gananjana shalakaya taksur unmulatam yena tasmai sri gurave namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So greetings from New Jersey. I may also have to end the class just a little bit early because I have to catch a ride. Before I get to the verse, we kind of are starting our Metro Mantra Sanga, trying to organize different programs for the summer. So I had a very nice one at Bṛhad and Govardhan Bhaktas yesterday, and just share a little realization from it. I had planned, somehow I was wanting to speak on the Shikshastakam prayers in the CC and the first verse of it. But when I got there was such a big audience, children and so many people, maybe new people, that I when I sat down, the kirtan was still going. I thought, I don't know if this is what I should speak about. Because you have to speak to your audience, and I didn't know if it was really the kind of place that I thought I would speak about these things. So then, I have a kind of, people know I have a gift of gab, so to speak, but I have to have a theme, and I just thought, what would be my subject? So one time I studied a book on public speaking, and I've used this before. And it said I wasn't nervous, that's not my nature. I could always speak on something, but it's not just speaking on something and interesting, but you really want to connect with your audience, and you really want to speak something that's relevant. So I read this book, and it says something which I've used several times, that, when someone like has stage fright or something, then that's their realization. and they can express that to the audience. Yeah, I'm really nervous up here, and I know, because what happens is you get connected to something real in your heart, and it kind of connects you to the audience, and it empowers you. So I thought, I'm not really sure what I'm going to speak on today, so I'll tell them. And I explained, I was coming here and class, but I didn't think it was really, kind of the best subject to get. And then I began to explain why. And then it really became an interesting class, because what I was speaking about, and I was explaining my technique about conviction, how important is conviction and faith. And then somehow or other that came to a subject that I thought was really interesting, because when you speak something, obviously what you speak, if you're a teacher and you have wisdom, you feel it's true, and it's not just propaganda. When you're speaking wisdom, you want to convey that wisdom, and you want people to consider it seriously, or sometimes you want them to accept it. And how much that's dependent, how much there's a potency in the conviction based on realization, which person speaks. And I always say, it's not just important to speak the truth, it has to be understood. And I'll put something further. Not speak the truth, but understand it, but understand it deeply. So that takes some kind of conviction. In other words, that someone actually, rather than just understands the truth, sees the truth. And that's exactly how Prabhupada defined communication. He defined communication as, or realization as, the ability to communicate. Because unless you actually realize the truth and see the truth, it will be hard to reform it to the frame of reference of your audience without losing that message. And that's what powerful people can do. Good communicators can do. The example of Prabhupada takes something that's a little bit difficult for his audience, but having realized it, can communicate it, mold it to the audience that doesn't have the frame of reference that the original text was spoken to. People had a particular culture, a particular frame of reference. Now you're taking those same teachings that maybe was spoken, as we would say, 5,000 years ago, or historically with how many thousands of years ago, but certainly thousands of years ago. And now there's a completely different audience. So can you repeat it the same way? No. You have to have realization. You have to communicate it. You have to reform it according to the frame of reference of your audience. And that takes realization. And the realization not only enables you to communicate it, the depth, actually seeing a truth by living that truth. I don't know if I gave it yesterday, but the example of that really struck out in my mind is when I was giving my Puriyatra, which started over 10 years ago, and I invited I didn't invite, he called me up asking if he can come, but literally the most learned Vaishnav in Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India, practically, at least in Gaudiya Vaishnava. He was and I spoke about Dr. Fakir Mohan. I asked him to speak. And I told him, and in the particular audience this year were the students from Gopi Pranadhana's Sanskrit school. And he asked that. He said, who is Shastragya? Who knows the truth? And he's speaking to Sanskrit students. And then so dramatically he says, one who practices. Because when you apply the truth, then you're able to see the truth. That's classic. You hear, you kind of contemplate it, you apply it, and you apply it enough times, then you begin to see it, and then you yourself can communicate what you heard. One who practices. Anyway, I'm going off on this subject in so many ways, but it really had. It's such a valuable point, and it came off with speaking about the 4 times that I heard Prabhupada's quote a verse specifically in a particular personal circumstance and the conviction he has. I'm not going to explain it today. The first one was in Dallas, Texas, when he came and said that the school should be based on Bhagavad Gita, and he taught the Bhagavad Gita course in the morning, and he chanted the verse, Martras Sparshas the Konteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukada Agama Payano Nityas Tamstitichas Vibharta. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course of time is like the changing of the summer and winter seasons, and one should learn to tolerate them. Then the second verse I heard when he was instructing the teachers in Dallas, and he challenged them, what is the most, what is it, how can I forget, what is the, it's amazing when you said things 1,000 times and then this once you don't remember. I remember the verse. Oh yeah, what is the essence of education? And people were giving different verses, and then Prabhupada finally said, Guru na sasyat, swajani na sasyat, pita na sasyat. Don't become a guru. Don't take a family. Don't become a father. Pita na sasyat. Don't be, unless you can liberate your charge. And then Prabhupada coming back to Vrindavan to leave his body. I was explaining these elaborately, the power. And when Prabhupada told us you can leave the world, and then quoted the verse, Teheno smin yata dehe komaran yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tattanamuyate. As the embodied soul passes from childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, the self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Dhiras tatyanamuyate. And then explaining how Prabhupada said that with conviction, and then said, what is death but a change of body? Just, I remember this another time Prabhupada said this, if you understand reincarnation, very ironic and kind of humorous. He said, what is death but another birthday? How many people have that realization? And then the last, then he left Vrindavan, and then he had to come back again, and then in front of his house, Brahmananda was holding Prabhupada like the Pieta, or like Haridas Thakur in the arms of Lord Chaitanya. It was so, Brahmananda was huge, Prabhupada was so tiny, and he turned around to us, and with such conviction in his heart, he quoted from King Kulashekar, Krishna tvadiya parapankaja pankarajam adyeva me vishatume manasarajam. Let me die now when the swan of my mind is entangled with your lotus of your feet. Otherwise, at the time of death, how will I remember you? So it was kind of interesting. And I thought, to me, the most important thing in giving a class, and I don't know where I got this term, but unconscious competence. A lot of times we have all the information, but how to present it and how, from the heart and how it comes out by God's grace. But I find that it's so important to begin with, and that's the way I got to the level of unconscious competence. by speaking from conviction what I was going through to try to present the class, and then it empowered me. Now here, this is a very interesting part of this Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. It's really getting, I don't know what phrase to use, but juicy. But we know the theme is Sanatana Goswami has to explain tasya parama antim, the end topmost realization. And it's not something that you can understand without a proper frame of reference, without a certain purity of heart and a certain sambandhi gyan, some type of knowledge. Otherwise, you can misunderstand it. Because the highest reality, rasa vai saha, the highest reality, which is this intense devotion, it's emotional. The highest reality is emotional. Why not? It's love. And if it's God, it's the highest love, so it's very emotional. But we relate emotions with something lower, not necessarily, but anyway, with passion and ignorance. So here's this separation, this intense hankering in a romantic sense. So you have this high reality that's explained, which is romantic and suffering, despondent. And despondent corresponds with kind of ignorance, and romantic with passion. But it's born from love. And when you see it, you see the highest love, not the highest passion. You see not the highest suffering, but the highest depth of love and the highest pleasure. So it's the whole book is kind of to present this point. And I explained many times, and I think we have the same audience basically, how the book is doing this. How the book is honing our understanding of devotion, so that when we see it in this lamentation of Sri Radha for Krishna, when we see it, we will understand it as a spiritual thing based on God's internal or loving potency. Premodbhavita, it is born of ecstatic love, transcendental love. So it's again, I'm not a scholar in literature, but there's something very incredibly composed, this genius of Sanatana Goswami. So now in this thing that we've been following, there's this argument outside of Krishna's room. What is the status of the Bṛhad-bhāsis who are suffering? Mother Yasoda's suffering was described. She piteously cried, her tears, as she piteously cried, can melt rocks and shatter thunderbolts. Their separation. But Uddhava is describing it as the humbling his own devotion, so it's the highest thing. So first, Uddhava is saying it's the highest thing. Rohini, who's been in Vrindavan and saw the Bṛhad-bhāsi, says it's not. Then the queens of Dwarka, they're saying how Krishna, who's their husband, is just thinking of the Bṛhad-bhāsis. Rukmini says at night, she describes Krishna calling out the names of the gopis and the cows and manifesting a threefold bending form and crying. So she's saying, look, how fortunate they are. They have Krishna's heart. And then Satyabhama says, why are you prattling like this? Why at night? During the day? And then the last part we got, which we covered Wednesday a little bit, I'm not going to really go over it, it's because it just fits into the theme. Balaram again now objects. And now he's going to support his mother. I went there. I stayed there. I built places of Krishna's pastimes. I spoke on Krishna's pastimes. Then he's saying, and then Krishna didn't come back. He says things, but you it's not enough to you what is it? Your actions speak louder than your words. He's saying Krishna's actions. He's saying he loves the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. And therefore, that would be Krishna. So, from two standpoints, they're saying, but he doesn't come back. So, from two standpoints, the point that we're supposed to understand that the Bṛhad-bhāgavatās, Srimati Radharani, have the highest level of devotion, are being challenged by Balaram and Rohini, defended by Uddhava and the residents of Dwarka. And what's being challenged? How can they be the highest recipients of Krishna's mercy if they're suffering so much and Krishna doesn't care about them? So again, it's setting up this thing. This has to be resolved. And not just there in that assembly. It has to be resolved for us. Our frame of reference, the whole book is building our frame of reference so that we can understand this drama, this lamentation, and Krishna's response to it. That it's actually the highest level of devotion, and samarpiyatam unatojvala rasam swabhakti swayam, that this is meant to be given to us, swabhakti swayam, that devotion of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatās, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has realized, not only realized, but realized the sentiments of Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so bhakti swayam, his own bhakti, we're supposed to realize. So now with all this commotion, and before we've been informed, this is not Goswami, it's just that Krishna hadn't got out of bed. His covers were over his eyes, and he hadn't waken up, and that's why they were all outside of the terrace. They were all outside of the terrace, on the terrace, because they were concerned. So Krishna's wives came there, and Rohini, Balaram, his brother, the mother of them, and Uddhava, his confidential associate. And now this whole discussion takes place. And what happens here, Krishna wakes up. And he comes outside, and rudann, uccair. Rudann, uccair. Uccair is loudly. And rudann is weeping. Krishna is just weeping. And how is Krishna described? He's described as priya-prema-parādhīno. Parādhīno means ruled by the love of his devotees. He's being described that way, but then we have to understand, why doesn't he come? He's disturbed. He's crying because the residents of Vrindavan are suffering. But why doesn't he come back? So this is the intrigue. I mean, you're hearing this, you have to feel, well, why is he not coming back? It's all going to be answered. But Parīkṣit's describing this. Prahula padma netrabhyam varshan asruni dharaya sagaggadam jagatedam paranugraha katara. With his fully blossoming lotus eyes, So we're getting the vibhav, not a shraya, what is it? Vishaya. The basic cause of love for Krishna, for the devotees of Krishna, for those who are reading it, the basic cause is Krishna, the object of your love. And part of that is describing his beauty as Prapula Padma Netrabhyam, blossoming lotus eyes. Vashanasruni Daraya, in a great downpour, raining tears. So Gagadam, with choking voice, he said, a choking voice which is katara, tormented by para anugraha, by compassion for others. So first, so it's presenting something contrary to what his actions are. And Balaram said, actions speak louder than words. But now here are actions that indicate that somehow or other he's really disturbed about this, even though he doesn't go back. And who is Krishna? He's ruled by the love of those who are dear to him. The supremacy of personality is one who is reciprocal and ruled by love. So God's supremacy is that he's controlled. Because if you're not influenced to satisfy and serve the desires of those who give their heart to you, you are impersonal. And Prabhupada said, Krishna doesn't have the defect of impersonality. He doesn't have the defect of impersonality. So he's ruled by love. And love means that your happiness and distress is the happiness and distress of those whom you love. Right? Some parents are like that. Right? Their happiness is their children. Their distress is their children. So God's happiness and distress is the devotees and the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛtas. And he's ruled by their desires and he feels by their desires. So now this is like a knife in Krishna's heart, his transcendental heart. And from his blossoming lotus eyes, he's raining tears. With a choking voice, tormented by compassion, he spoke as follows. Purport, an inferior person cares only for his own welfare, whereas a virtuous person thinks about paranugraha, compassionate help for others. Krishna's paranugraha is unlimited. Taking the word para in the sense of enemies, we can understand that he's compassionate even to those who hate him. Certainly, therefore, he would not neglect his devotees. But why is he? Stay tuned. An inferior person only cares for his own welfare. That's called narcissistic. A virtuous person thinks about others. That's called love. That's called love. Raghunath Swami describes Sanatana Goswami, the author of this book. Vairagya yug bhakti rasam priyatnai apaya mamana bipsamandam kripambudhiya paraduka duki sanatanastam prabhamasam paraduka duki para others, para dukkha dukkhi. For others suffering, dukkha dukkhi, I suffer. Para dukkha, for others suffering, dukkhi, I suffer. So Krishna's, out of love, they're pained, he's pained. And that's the way we should be towards God and Guru and others. See bhagavān uvāca. Now Krishna's going to speak, he's being described. Satyam eva maha vrajra sarena gatitam mama idam hridayam adhyapi dvidva yanna vidiryati. The Supreme Lord said, yes, it is true. My heart is made of solid diamond. It must be so because it is not split in half. If I love them, how am I living? I forgot to tell you that you say, I have love. This also comes someplace else, apparently. You say I have love, but if I have, Lord Chaitanya maybe, he's saying, you think I have love, but how am I living in separation from my beloved? So many tragedies in this world where loved people die in tragic ways. I told this story no, I didn't. But anyway, maybe I did. But in Monday morning greeting, there's going to be a reference to an article I wrote on the problem of evil, where I discussed that I had my aunt. She had 3 daughters, and then finally she had a son, and he was we loved him. We loved him so much. He was so cute. He was the youngest of everyone in the family, because that was my father's youngest sister. So he was the youngest. And you can imagine how much his sisters loved him and his parents loved him, and then he was murdered. How they felt. It's another question of the problem of evil. The article on this Monday is going to be called The Problem of Evil. Which means there's another problem with evil. One is intellectual, why evil exists, if there's a God that's omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent. And the other thing is emotionally, the feelings we have. So Krishna is speaking. I always wanted to write an article. I've never done it. Maybe I'll write it one time, called The Mind of God. Because what the Bhagavatam does so powerfully, it describes, there must be mind. I mean, I tell you, I'm taking walks. I'm not a big nature lover, but by Jack's mercy, he's kept his old car. I guess one of the reasons I can drive to this reservoir nearby, and I kind of feel proud of myself because you know me, I'm just always in my room. I never get out. And that's my nature. And kind of, it's just a pleasant, I walk around this big reservoir. It's very beautiful. Hey, I'm out in nature. This is so good for me. I'm getting fresh air. Anyway, that's the point. But the devotees, so now Krishna is saying, those devotees took care of me for so long, from the very beginning of my childhood, and still I have forgotten all about their exceptional love. So what's going on? Now Krishna is confirming. He has love for them, but he's saying my actions somehow are insufficient. This has to be reconciled. And it will be reconciled in an incredible way. Devotees who took care of me for so long, from the very beginning, still I've forgotten about their asadharan, prema. Sadharan is ordinary. Asadharanam, exceptional. This word is kind of referred to different levels of love. Some is ordinary love. This is exceptional prema. And still, vismritam, maya, by me I have forgotten. Be that as it may, I must somehow do something to help them. I've indeed been cruel to have caused those gentle souls such extreme grief. Oh, brother Uddhava, you know everything, and you are the best of my dear friends. Please tell me at once, what should I do? Please lift me from this ocean of distress. And then there's another discussion. Something else happens here, but I'm just trying to get to another part here because it's so interesting. So he inquires from Uddhava, what should I do? And Uddhava kind of looked at him and says, they desire nothing but you. And he said, now think about what I say. Anyway, this is too complicated, but he really gets on his case. You know, he's a servant, but he said, you never went back. What's going on? Anyway, of course, I kind of have to pack and get going, make sure I don't miss anything, because also, but let's go, and 1 second here. Jamuna Jaya, what did you?
Hey, Krishna Maharaj.
Haribo.
That you got a great one-liner today. God's supremacy is that he is controlled. That you've said it so many times in so many ways, but that so succinctly says it, and it's just that's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what kind of supreme God is there? Like, you know, he's playing his flute and enjoying, and everybody's loving him. He doesn't care for anyone,
No.
right? He's playing his flute. He doesn't care for anyone. And if you love someone, then their desires become prime, and that's what it means to be controlled. When your actions are guided by another's desires, that would means love. So if God has love, he has to be controlled. Great point, Jamuna Jaya.
So wonderful. That's a button.
Okay, Haribo. Okay. Gail, you get a shot now if you're there. How's this possible? Okay, good. Anybody else like to say hello? Share a reflection? Ask a question.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj. Krishna Maharaj. It's Bṛhad.
Haribo.
Hey, Bo.
Where you going?
What'd you say?
Where you headed?
Oh, well, we're headed to the Bhakti Center to see Dhanurdhara Swami, but it was just canceled. So he's not able to speak. So the class is still happening, I think. So we're just going to go anyway. We're already in the car.
Isn't it so much easier just to drive to Edison and park in front of the house and just come in, right? Anyway, it's something, you know, it's a Sunday, you know, you can hear class on the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful out. We haven't been to the Bhakti Center in a while, and we thought it would be.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice. I'm gonna go to Don Cayley's house on the lake. Peaceful, get more of my country vibe. Okay. Okay, Haribo. Anybody else want to say hello? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gumaraj. Tota Gopinath here. Great hearing from you.
We'll see you soon. What time are you going to be here?
I'll be there like 9:45 latest.
Okay, great. I'll be ready. Okay.
Haribo.
Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much. I love when you speak about love, eternal love, real love. And today you said that our mundane love is the reflection of this pure love.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I'll be able to see my friends there soon. Let's see how the visa goes. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Yvette. Thank you so much for class. And thank you for
Haribo.
sharing personal experiences for when you have to give talks. That was really sweet.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess we'll see you at the July 4th.
Yeah, are you going to Madhava this week?
Yeah, I'll be at that Madhava Kirtan.
Do then.
Actually, my friend Brahmatirtha, good friend, Bob Cohn that had that book with Prabhupada, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. He's coming to the retreat.
Oh, nice.
So I'm
That's
going
great.
to also, give the devotees a chance to meet with him.
Oh,
You ever
great.
read that book, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers?
Not yet, but I have it. I have
Read
many
it.
books.
Read it this week. Read it before July 4th, and then I'll
Okay, you
introduce you
got
to
it.
him. Okay?
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Don K. Lee.
Wow, my room's ready?
Your room's ready. Yep. Jim and I are very excited for your upcoming visit. So thank you for this service.
What a nice temple room, and I see my room is right there on the lake.
Behind me.
Right.
Ready and
Okay. So yeah. Yeah, I'll be there by 4:30 latest, but you come at 6:30, it's great because I'll be there. Mara will be there. I guess I meet you at 6:30. It's safe, right?
okay. And are we going to Hartford this week?
I haven't heard back from Malati Priya.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk today.
Got it. We'll
Okay.
see you.
Okay. Anybody else like to say hello? Okay. I will look at all the
Hare
names.
Krishna, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Amala,
Amala.
nice. Great to see you
Nice
there.
to see
Shalom. Let there
Hare
be
Krishna.
peace. Okay. Haribo.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. I'm looking at all the
Hare
names.
Krishna Maharaj, Surya Radhika here.
Śrī Parīkṣit, Haribo.
I want to email you, but sorry, I didn't have the chance to
Okay,
do that.
email. We can talk this week if you like.
Yeah. And Maharaj, you talked about perfect questions, perfect answers. I have the Farsi version and I want to go for book distribution. I have 24 of these and 24 Bhagavad Gita in Farsi version here.
The Farsi versions, when did they
Yeah.
come out?
I don't know. I just had the desire and I just
Are
asked
these recent editions?
Yes.
They're
I
just
think.
they're just recently done, right?
I don't know. I just know that they weren't ever printed with BBT, but it is now, it seems, that
Wow.
BBT is doing this. And I was so excited. I mean, I had the desire and I asked a devotee and he didn't apply to order it or anything, but it just came. Another devotee brought it here.
There's a big Persian community in Vancouver, right?
Yes, yes.
Have you ever met them?
I've met few people, a group of laughter yoga thing. I went there to present my happiness coaching thing.
Oh.
And yeah, so through
Yeah,
that.
Call me up. I'd like to know how that happiness coaching thing is going. Okay.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Thank you, Maris. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anybody else like to say hello? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Oh.
Too late now, Gail.
No question.
I asked you, but it was great to see your daughters yesterday there, huh?
Yeah.
Great.
No, I was just going to say that, for the few, because you often say that, when you want to speak, you have to start with what you're going through. And I never really understood that, But today you explained it, that when you speak about what you're going through, you start with that conviction, and that kind of gives you some kind of momentum, to,
Right. And it's also something easy to speak about. And for me, I have a frame of reference of 50 years studying Shastra, more than 50 years, actually, that once I start speaking, then so many things start to come in and I have a logical mind, and then it works. Like yesterday, it was kind of interesting to talk about conviction and faith. Yeah. Okay. Haribo. Thanks,
All
Gail.
right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I looked at the list and I thank every single person for being in the class. Haribo. Vanchakalpatubhyascha kripasindu bhevaccha patitanam pavanebhyo